Day 193 of the Ukrainian war map, also known as Russia's devastating invasion of Ukraine. Chelsea here, and today is another quick update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to the happenings on the ground in Ukraine. And as always, I like to start off with some of the Russian military losses. So we'll take a peek here from yesterday through to today. And currently, military personnel lost in action of the Russian side is 49,500. Quite a bit of a jump there from yesterday, in fact, about 450 more. And I'll explain why in a moment further down in the video. But let's take a look at the actual hardware losses there as well. So the armored combat vehicles, an incredible 27, tanks, an additional massive 15, and a whole bunch of artillery, 13, and an aircraft and a helicopter there as well. Now, just a quick note though, we are dealing with countless reports now of the Russian military consistently failing to provide basic entitlements to its troops deployed in Ukraine, including things like appropriate uniform, arms, and rations, as well as unpaid bonuses that were promised to them. So there's a great deal of low morale generally amongst the ranks in the Russian military there. Then we move across to the map where we'll start out in Chernihiv. I haven't heard great amounts of information from here recently. So the Russian military is at it again. So shelling in the Chernihiv Oblast. So the Oblast governor said that more than 50 explosions were heard in the village of Slobada, about 15 miles south of the main city. So around there. No casualties were reported though, so that's always good to hear. Then we move across to Sumy. So let's see, Sumy. We have information about where Russian forces actually fired over 60 rounds here with mortars and self-propelled artillery. Also, however, and I might need to zoom in here, we have some video footage of the Ukrainian forces conducting a raid about 1 mile deep into Russian territory. So this is in the Belgorod Oblast, and we've got the Belgorod city there. And it happened around here, destroying a Russian MDK-3. It's a trench digging vehicle, basically, just about a mile in from the actual border itself. So that's always interesting to see when we get stories like this. Then we move down to the Donbass, where a rarely seen Russian Zala 421 reconnaissance drone fell out of the sky in the east yesterday. Although there is no information on the reason for the downing of this drone, it may have been downed by a Ukrainian electronic warfare gun, of which Russian drones are said to be particularly vulnerable to these. Also in the Donbass region, on the front line in particular, Soledar. So I'm going to have to zoom in and find this one, Soledar. Here we go. So well and truly the front line here. We have a downed tank here recently as well, from presumably an ATGM tank buster, such as a Javelin or an NLAW, but it was probably from a UK sent NLAW, for which Ukraine has received an incredible amount of these, about 4,000 units to date in total, which is a great deal. And further frontline Donbass pushes from the Russian side were repelled again from the Ukrainian side there. Then we move down across a little bit more southern, so right here in Nikopol. So this is part of the Dnipro-Petrovsk Oblast. So it got another round of shelling overnight, but still not getting any military installations, it seems. And we might have the exact footage as to where this particular one came from. So just below across the Dnipro River on the other side, where there was Russian multiple launch rocket firings from the territory of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Now, preliminary geolocation data from a third-party source found that the origin of the shelling is from the Russian-controlled territory right beside the power station. So Russia caught on camera close proximity firing right from the NPP. This is probably something listed under the UN War Crimes Charter as being illegal. I don't know, I haven't checked it, but I'm sure that it is, and they'll have to pay for this later on down the track from firing right from a nuclear plant, using it as a bit of a blackmail tool there as well, for sure. Also, within the Zaporizhia region here, there was actually 5 explosions were heard near an airfield in Russian-occupied Melitopol. Now, the mayor said that the mayor of Melitopol said Ukrainian resistance is involved. The Russian forces were attempting to set up a military hardware at the airfield, according to the mayor. And also from overnight, in the same basic region there, Tokmak. Love the name of this city. So Tokmak ammo dump burning overnight, as this photo shows. I briefly mentioned this yesterday, but some photography came to light in the last few hours, and I just thought I'd show that one there as well. Okay, now we'll move across to the Kherson Oblast and really Kherson City, all of that here. So really quite the front line. And the Ukrainian forces achieved a degree of tactical surprise in the last few days, as I'm sure you've probably heard, exploiting poor Russian logistics and administration and leadership in the Russian armed forces, due to Russia also having northern and eastern offensives in Ukraine. So we're talking Kharkiv, we're talking Sumy, and the Donbass. So what I'm trying to say here is this means some key decisions by Russian commanders will need to be made in the coming days as to where they should commit any operational reserve forces that they can generate, because they are stretching their resources pretty thin. Yesterday on the video, I did a bit of a calculation, and it looked like the front line was about 600 miles in length, or about 1,000 kilometers, causing Russia to indeed stretch their military resources quite thin. But on the actual front line here, during the day, the Ukrainian armed forces managed to completely take control of a village in the front line of the Kherson region, around here, this dip right here. Now, with this one, so there it is, Bladovivka. So if I actually look at the map, it will in fact say data on the Kherson direction has not yet been published, so we can't actually see updates that much. It's all being kept pretty close to the chest, as it is still what you could say is as ongoing. But Ukraine's Operational Command South reported that they eliminated 138 troops, destroyed 9 tanks, 1 Mr. B howitzer, 1 Uragan multiple rocket launcher, 1 S-300 missile system, a 152mm gun howitzer, and 18 units of armoured vehicles on September 3rd, so within the last 24-hour reporting period, which is certainly quite the laundry list there. And also, if we go across to this very well publicized bridge here at the dam, the Nova Kakhovka Bridge. So the bridge dam has actually collapsed due to numerous Ukrainian strikes. The railway bridge did not collapse, but it is severely damaged. And this is the line, or the supply line and logistics line, that Russia has heavily been reliant upon. And it's said to be able to... You can actually drive some very light vehicles on it, for instance. I've even seen it with some footage. But it is effectively useless for the purposes of any Russian offensive at the moment. And here we have a photo of a Russian Pantsir SAM air defense system that was destroyed. This one was a little bit further in at Radensk, a little bit down here, so well beyond the point of the frontline offensive, aka the contact point. Note the deployed radar here, indicating that the system was operating when it was hit. Most likely taken out by an AGM-88 HARM anti-radar missile, a recent NATO technology that they provided to Ukraine there. And when these Russian systems are destroyed, it significantly hampers or reduces the Russian forces' situational awareness on the front line. And because of the name given to these HARM AGM-88 weapon systems, there's already a ton of memes online about this formidable weapon type. And the last noteworthy piece for the Kherson region in general today is that the U forces, that is to say the Ukrainian forces, struck another Russian base with commanders and soldiers inside. So this is around just the edge or the side of the Kherson city. So some were hospitalized and some were just effectively eliminated. Can't think of a nicer way to put it. And we'll move across to some news now where Ukraine's intelligence indicates that 40% of military equipment of Russia's newly created Third Army Corps is not combat ready. So Ukraine's intelligence directorate said the newly established Russian Third Army Corps is having trouble filling its ranks with people and equipment and is slowed down in being able to complete formation by late November, which is when it's expected to come online. It was also said that Russia had used its latest and greatest military equipment in the February and March attacks, and as a result, Russia's newly created military units that are supposed to provide reinforcements in Ukraine are receiving Soviet-style equipment. So, in other words, not the latest and greatest stuff like they were originally getting. Now, in more news here today, Ukrainian children are going back to school at the moment, so this week. 4 million students in total, of which nearly 1 million, I think it's about 800,000 of them, are forced to learn from home due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And just lastly, a bit of a funny to round off the day with, as always. This is actually more of a news piece that I personally happen to find a bit funny. Bit of a big one, so we'll see how we go. So the Russian railway firm, quote-unquote Russian Railways, seeks to recruit 10,000 of its workers for the war in Ukraine. This information was actually come through from a Russian human rights lawyer who's speaking out against Putin's proposed plans. Employees of the state-owned railroad monopoly are expected to sign short-term contracts for 6 months to go to war. Now, why employees of a railway or railroad company? Long story short, Russian sanctions are putting this group of people out of work, and to top that off, Russia is running out of soldiers. The Railway Co., so they have actually lost 30% of their cargo capacity and their capability since the war began in February. This is the result of Western sanctions on Russia due to its military aggression in Ukraine. Russia actually has a major shortage of bearings for repair, maintenance and construction of railway carriages in order to keep it all operational. It might seem like just a wagon wheel to you, but it is so much more than that. So many manufacturing processes go into the making of these things. A very high degree of technical expertise and raw earth minerals from supply chains around the world are required to create these modern technological manufactured masterpieces. No one country actually has the capacity to make these things alone. And the Russian industry cannot reproduce its own bearings for the repair of its own wagons. Russia actually tried an import substitution strategy already, which actually horribly failed. So this is an interesting long-term domino effect I see with all this. So in the next 6 months or so, Russia's railroad capacity will just get increasingly limited. Mining industries in Russia won't be able to transport products, for example, sending coal to China or receiving products from neighboring countries, which in turn slows down neighboring industries, having a bit more of a knock-on effect on the regular consumer market, which is already not doing so well in Russia because of the Western sanctions there as well. And my immediate funny thought throughout all of this was so that Russia would send their railroad expertise to go to war, something that they don't really know how to do, which means they will have to backfill the railroad with people who don't know how to do railroad stuff. Russian logic. But in all honesty, money should be paid in advance to those future widows, first and last months, because The first month is the last month in all too many cases with Russian soldiers. So that's about it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me as I'm dealing with my my wisdom tooth issues. Please subscribe, hit the comment section, like, avoid the trolls in the comment section as well. And I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.